Like many people, I went to college with big dreams. What I actually left with was tens of thousands in debt and no full-time job. Luckily, starting out in such a terrible financial place made it a lot more satisfying to build my net worth and finally achieve a $100,000 net worth. So I started out my life as an adult with a lot of debt and very little financial education. Getting back to net worth zero felt much harder than actually hitting $100,000. Today, I'm going to walk you through my timeline, the turning points in my journey on building my net worth, and the 3 levers that actually made a difference in helping me build that net worth. And at the end, I'll tell you why being debt-free actually felt like a letdown and what milestones actually felt way more exciting while building my net worth. I touched on the beginning of my journey. I started out with a very negative net worth. In my early 20s, I did pay off about $40,000 of student loans and credit card debt that I had racked up in college. I did this while I was working in my first big girl job out of college that I finally got about a full year after scraping by with part-time jobs I got when I graduated. Then later on, between 2018 and 2020, I tackled the other portion of my student loan debt, which was $42,000, and I documented that all here on YouTube. Paying off that debt felt so frustrating, and it took away from so much of my life at the time. It was a huge focus and it forced me to work a lot. But I knew I wanted to get rid of that debt and never think about it again. So in 2020, I did, and being debt-free did feel great, and it led me to actually make more choices to stay debt-free, like when I saved up and bought a car in cash in 2020 as well. I've been trying to avoid debt since then, so I haven't had a car payment. I've never used a buy now, pay later app. There's many things I've done on purpose to avoid going back into debt. Reaching debt freedom and removing all of those payments from my life was the single goal I focused on for many years, and I ultimately did achieve it. And of course, if you're paying off debt, you owe less, so that does increase your net worth. And somewhere in the middle of paying off debt, I also reached the point where my net worth was zero for the first time, because I had been paying off debt and also investing on the side as well. I was able to hit net worth zero because I did keep investing money. I was investing the entire time I was paying off debt. Throughout my 20s, I worked for small businesses and startups, so I didn't actually have access to a 401k until I turned 30 at my last job. But I'll be honest, the only reason I was able to hit zero net worth as early as I did is because while I was paying off debt, I also kept investing money the entire time. Throughout my 20s, I worked for small businesses. I worked for startups. I had a few stints of being unemployed. I didn't have a 401k until I hit 30, and my income was all over the place, up and down, and never over 100k. The one constant during that time was that I was still learning and I was still putting money into my Roth IRA. Even when it was a small amount, even when it was only $20, $50, I still contributed all the time to that account. I knew those small amounts would add up over time and eventually compound into something bigger. That period of my life was not about making a lot of money. It was not a time where I knew what I was doing at all. It was all about experimenting. It was about trying new ideas, making mistakes, and learning about finance and life, seeing what actually worked. And with each attempt, I moved closer and closer to that net worth zero goal. And once I got to zero, that's when things got really exciting and started to change, because now my money, instead of paying off my past mistakes, paying off my debt, it could grow instead of just catching up. So let's talk about what actually got me from being in debt to building net worth and building my investments. And the first thing is side hustles. The first big lever for me was side hustles that I did outside of my day job. I did YouTube for years while also working a full-time job. I had basically 2 incomes at one point, and that let me pay off my debt faster to achieve debt freedom, and it helped me funnel more money straight into my investments once the debt was gone. When I no longer had the student loan payments, I could finally max out my Roth IRA every year since the debt was gone. I never was able to max it out in my 20s, and I did contribute every single year, but maxing it out was not a goal I was achieving. There is something really powerful about using your second stream of income, whatever it is, to just put that money toward investments or to paying off debt or to whatever will increase your net worth. Doing this instead of inflating your lifestyle is a huge game changer, and that side hustle money really made a difference in my life. Each time I got a side hustle paycheck, I sent it straight toward debt payoff or toward investing. I kept my living expenses the same and within the main job income, so I wasn't spending more of my side hustle money And that extra money began to accelerate my goals and pay off my debt and then increase my investments. It was a huge game changer for me and one of the things that I highly recommend if you have the capacity outside of your day job to make extra money. The second lever that helped me grow my net worth was budgeting. For me, budgeting was about cutting the right things, cutting the things that I don't care about. I don't care about clothes really. I don't care about having a fancy car. So those categories stayed low for me. But I always made room for things that actually matter to me, like my health, travel, and experiences. It's not about saying no to everything just because you're trying to increase your net worth. It's about saying yes to what actually matters to you while then cutting things that don't so you can use that money to achieve your financial goals. So for me, I didn't care about certain things like having a car payment or sending AT&T $200 a month for a phone plan. So I cut those and I had more money to put toward my financial goals, and that grew my net worth by massive amounts. The third lever that really truly increased my net worth was education. I did not graduate high school knowing anything about money. In fact, I was panicked at 18 because the college education I expected and was promised would be paid for suddenly wasn't. Suddenly it was now my responsibility and I had not planned for that, and I had to take on a lot of student loans. That fear that I felt when I was adding up student loans on top of each other was what triggered my need to educate myself. I started reading, listening, and learning. In fact, that's why I opened the Roth IRA at 18, because every new piece of knowledge turned into a better financial choice. It led me to do something that was maybe outside of my comfort zone, outside of my actual knowledge, but it was a good financial idea based on all of the people that I trusted that I was learning from. I learned about things and then I took action. So when I learned about Roth IRAs at 18, I opened one, even when I couldn't contribute much and I didn't put much in at all for the first few years. Or it was doing things like living cheaply so I could pay off my student loans and get back to that net worth zero much, much faster. Every bit of information I absorbed helped me move forward, helped me grow, helped me make the next right financial choice. And over time, I learned a lot and I got to the point where I was able to make choices on my own because I had invested in the knowledge about personal finance. I've mentioned it a few times in this video, but my Roth IRA has been the steady backbone through all of this and a big part of increasing my net worth. Like I said, I started it at 18. In my 20s, I added money to it, but I wasn't very consistent, but I did keep at it. I did take some breaks, but I still went back and started contributing more. And while I don't share my full net worth on this channel, I do actually share my Roth IRA balance. I have a video about that, and as of September 2025, that account alone is over $100,000. It has not been a flashy or exciting journey necessarily. It's just been steady contributions, learning as I go, and letting time do its thing with my investments. If you take away any advice from this video, remember to invest early and invest often, even if it's a small amount. That adds up over time and eventually will be a much bigger number. Okay, now let's talk about the twist in this whole journey that I personally was not expecting. And that was the fact that paying off debt was a bit of a letdown. It was pretty anticlimactic. Don't get me wrong, it did matter. It did improve my net worth, but it didn't give me this life is different now rush. It didn't give me the exciting feelings. The real excitement came from other milestones. It came from when my net worth hit $50,000. It came from when my net worth hit $100,000. It was not the debt payoff that actually triggered any excitement for me, even though debt payoff was so important and something I've talked about on my channel for years. Debt payoff just removed the anchor that was holding me down. But investing gave me the momentum and the excitement. Watching my money grow on its own was so much more exciting than finally seeing that zero balance in my debt. And here's the thing that really matters is that increasing your net worth is a combination of both things. The exciting, shiny milestones where you see your net worth hit $100,000 and is the drudgery of paying off debt and clearing that. They both matter because they both are part of the journey of increasing your net worth. That's how I went from a very negative net worth to more than $100,000 in net worth, and I know that you can do it too. It is something that's achievable for anyone out there as long as you are willing and able to commit to working towards it. Even if you only have a small amount to put towards it now, I promise those small amounts do add up, they do compound, and eventually you are going to be in a great place. If you want to see how I contributed year by year with those small amounts, definitely check out my video breaking down my Roth IRA balance and all of my contributions over the years. I'll see you over there.